Hey guys, so I wanted to talk about probably my favorite manifestation hack. I never see this talked about. It takes I don't know, the hardest part of the manifestation process out of the equation pretty much, almost entirely. And it's just awesome. I use it all the time. I use it all the time to manifest things in my life almost instantly. It's pretty crazy. You know, people talk about resistance like it's not a thing, but it definitely is. It's the thing that's standing in the way between you and the thing you want starting to flow to you, or you starting to flow to it. And this way, for me, there's almost no resistance. There's just almost, because it's very, very general. And it's generally about things that you wouldn't have a lot of resistance to anyway. So what I'm talking about is using memory, strong memories that you have, or using outer conditions sort of as they happen to manifest more things like those things in your life. And I don't think anybody really does this. I don't know. I've never heard anybody talk about this but me. But so I've got two good examples from my life that I'll just share because it's easier than trying to come up with some generic example. I'd rather just use something real. The one thing that I have used over and over and over and over again successfully every time, and it happens so quickly and organically that half the time I don't even notice until like a month later. I say, oh yeah, I had this intention about this, is manifesting things in my life to be very interested in, fascinated by, engrossed in. I love nothing more than when I find a topic or some experience, a physical activity sometimes, something like that, where I become so into it that I lose track of time. I want to do it all the time. It's like my focus. I'm getting through whatever the tasks in my day are so that I can get to this thing, it could even be something like a TV show with 10 seasons or something. God, I love finding a TV show that's awesome with 10 seasons. Or for me, the thing that I always go back to when I'm trying to manifest something like this, if I get bored in my life, that's generally when I'm doing this. If I have too much spare time, I kind of retired in July. So this is a recent thing for me, recently on my mind. The thing that I always go back to is when I was 27 and the World of Warcraft came into my life, a video game, big online video game, if you're not familiar with it. It was just the most fascinating thing to me because it was a really new type of thing at the time. And I was at, kind of at the right age, I think, for that. I've always been kind of a gamer anyway, but when I got that game, I was so into it that I just sort of was in it for 2 or 3 months. I just didn't give a shit about anything else. I was just I want to play this game. And for me, that's the best thing in the world. You shouldn't neglect the rest of your life, and I didn't. But basically every spare moment I had was spent playing that game before it kind of wore off. And I've used that since then, that experience, because I remember how that felt, just that feeling of it. I want to just get this stuff done so that I can go do this thing I'm totally into. I remember that feeling. It's very easy to remember that and just say, okay, I'm ready. I'm intending for something else like that now. You don't have to have any clue what it is, I promise. You don't have to think anything beyond that. If you just remember a time when you had a feeling about something, kind of copy and paste that onto your intention. For me, it manifests almost instantly. Another example of this for me was, how this manifested was the works of Neville Goddard. I almost instantly, within 36 hours of that intention in 2019, was led down a rabbit hole to Neville Goddard, and I read all of his works and lectures, and I was just so into it for maybe, 6 weeks or something. And Neville Goddard sort of tied together all the manifestational pieces from all of the other books and things that I had read, and in addition to my own personal, sort of vast personal experience over the previous 20 years. So that was very engrossing. and also sort of led to a spiritual awakening. So, what could be more fascinating than that? That was what manifested from that intention in 2019. And I had a similar one last year when I exited the Neville Goddard subreddit, which I was moderating at the time. When I removed myself completely from that whole scene, which had been sucking a shitload of energy down from me, I became very energized. And I said the same thing, I need something to get totally engrossed in. And that combined with my intention to have more money, and I got completely obsessed with my business again for 3 months, doubled my income, doubled the business to my store, basically overnight, with about 2 weeks worth of intense, focused, engrossed, obsessive effort. That's what came out of that for me last year. And just now, again, I always go back to the World of Warcraft experience, because that's the ultimate, that was the ultimate being engrossed in something in another place for me 20 years ago, oh my God. Holy shit. Recently, I did the same thing a few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I was I really just I need to get into something. I need to get, I can't just I was spending a lot of time reading all the same type of stuff. And, you read too much stuff in the spiritual new age arena, it just gets to be too much. You can't keep reading and reading and reading all that stuff. You have to stop and digest, put it down for a while. And I reached that point sometime in August, and I said, I really need something else to do now, because I don't have anything to do at work anymore. I'm basically retired, and I need something to do with my time. And so how that manifested was that the World of Warcraft actually got re-released in its original form, only in a hardcore version where you can only die once. I mean, once you die, it's over. And that has been the most weird, engrossing experience. I've been playing World of Warcraft 10 hours a day for the past month. So I'm sure half of you will unsubscribe from my channel now, which is lame. You should really get into something like this. It's just really fun, mindless entertainment, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with spending your time on something where you're in that mental space. That's a good high vibration to be in. Not to use cheesy terms, but really, it is. If you're in that space, that is the creative space. That's the space where your problems aren't on your mind. You're focusing on the parts of your life that aren't the way you want them to be. It's actually a really good thing to do. If you're neglecting your whole life because you're playing video games, that's a different story. But I think people feel a lot of pressure to be doing something productive, or they think of things like TV, video games, things like that as being a waste of time. I think honestly there's actually not really a lot more that you can be doing in this life that is valuable, other than enjoying yourself. That is pretty much, that's the state everyone is trying to reach. So if you have something in your life that makes you feel that way, screw what anyone else thinks about it. So that's sort of part one of this whole manifestational hack. The second thing is, in this area, in this manifestation community, this manifestation space, basically what we're talking about is creating things unconditionally, meaning you don't have the outer condition to support your feeling, right? You have to generate the feeling as if you already had the thing. So you have to enjoy the thing without it being there. That's the idea. What you can also do is you can create more of the things that you experience conditionally. So if you have an experience in your outer reality that you like, take that feeling and intend to have more of it in different ways or in the same way. So if you say, I'll tell you my best example from this, but just as an example, if you're out and about shopping and you have a really nice exchange with a stranger while you're waiting in line, and there's a good energy and a good vibe and a good feeling, when you leave that scene, take that feeling and strongly intend, I want more of that in my life. I want friends like that. I want more people like that in my life. I want more interactions like that in my life. I want to feel, just take that feeling mostly and put an intention on it for more of it to be created. I swear this is the fastest thing. It worked. There's like no resistance, right? You have some positive, lighthearted experience. There's barely any resistance unless you're just resistant to the whole idea of things manifesting, which you have to get over. I know some people are suffering from that. There's almost no resistance to having some positive, feeling things show up in your life. I manifested my business partner, who was my life partner also for a long time, in 2008, in 3 days from an experience like this. Just from an outer condition, experiencing something that was already in my life, which was having dinner with a friend of mine. I had dinner with a friend of mine, a male friend of mine who, we weren't romantically involved, and we didn't spend a lot of time together, but we just had one of those relationships where it feels like you've always known each other. I have a handful of those in my life. They're the most precious thing to me, where you meet somebody, it's like an instant connection. It's like you already know each other, and then it doesn't matter how much time passes. 10 years could pass, and you talk to this person, and it's like it's exactly the same. Those are the most amazing thing to me. I love those types of relationships. And I had just had dinner with a friend of mine that was just like that. And so I had this feeling. I was like, I had just spent a couple hours in this positive vibe, this feeling of just, being accepted and known by somebody, and just like, this is a member of my family, that type of feeling. And I left with that feeling, and I was kind of lonely in my life at that time. I didn't feel like I had any support. I didn't feel like I had anyone. And I just said, that's what I want. I want that feeling, but I want it in my day-to-day life with somebody. And within 3 days, I met probably, I don't know, I met the person who, I think, of everyone I know in my life, 15 years later, of everyone I know in my life, I think that person would take the most bullets for me, including my fiance and every one of my living family members and dead family members. I think this person would take the most bullets for me, really. It's the strongest, like, already existed before we knew each other type of bond that I've ever experienced in my life. It's like I always knew him, and it truly is like he's a family member. Really, the closest thing I think would be brother. I feel more like my ex is a brother than my actual brother. So that's what manifested for me in 3 days after having that really clear intention that had been based just on the fact that I was still, like, I guess, in the afterglow of this experience I had just had. So that to me is the most powerful, easy way to manifest things. And you are probably going through your life having experiences like this on the regular, maybe not, to that degree, but you're having some positive experiences throughout every day of your life. There's something in there that you would want more of. Okay? There's something in there that you would want more of. I'm really sorry if you're in a place where you don't feel that way, but you really need to start paying attention to these things that happen that are positive so that you can start creating more of them. So step 1 would be recognize these experiences that feel good as they happen. And then you just intend for that. If you need an alteration to it, I love, this interaction I just had with this stranger. I want friends in my life every day where I have a relationship like that feels like that. Intend for it. It's done. Let it go. Don't think about how you don't have that. Don't focus on the absence of it. Just, this is the work. This is the task. This is the thing to practice. But to me, this is the easiest way because you get this real life conditional experience, right? That happened for whatever reason. And you have that to draw on. It's like a freebie. You get that feeling and you get to draw on it, and you can just slap it onto an intention. Boom, it's gone. You don't have to generate any emotions. You don't have to think about what it would feel like if you had it, because you just had it. You just experienced it. Boom, it's done. Watch it come into your life like tomorrow. It's amazing. Anyway, those are 2 of my little tips. manifesting tips. I hope that helps somebody. I think that's all I wanted to say about that. For me, these things have been instant, nearly instant. I mean, within days, especially the things that, especially like, I just want to be fascinated by something. I really want to get into something. Those things, they manifest almost immediately, which is awesome. I love it. So anyway, yeah, if my channel's been a little dead lately, it's because I am spending all of my time dying in World of Warcraft hardcore. I'm on my 4th try now. So wish me luck. Have a great day.